Let's take you through our starting grid for the Junior Rotax Pre-Final. On pole position, it will be the UK's Timo Jungling, and representing Jordan on the outside of the front row will be Hamza Al-Fayez. Matej Radenkovic and Armand Hamilton, representing Belgium and Hungary, will be on row 2. The Netherlands and the UK represented on row 3, courtesy of Krik Knorren and Archie Clark. Dave Stevens and Mika van der Pavert make it an all-Dutch row number 4, with the UK's Thomas Behrman and Belgium's Bolowetz running at the top 10. Casper Schormans, Thomas Ingram Hill, Alberto Kiko Fracassi, Ollie Wise, Tino Sidler, Noah Janssen, Kenzo Craigie, Christopher Alfagali, Thomas Min-Spearing and Cameron Nelson round out the top 20. Completing the capacity 36-strong grid is Olivia Yonkers, Oscar Gudshaw, Miko Manila, Tom Strela, Nemanja Jovanovic, August Reber, Zain El Homosani, Boaz Maximov, Luke Kornder, Max Cuthbert, and the 6 qualifiers from our second chance heat this morning: Joshua Graham, Knud Nielsen, Sebastian Koch, Ryan Borguino, Anas Majauskis, and Kasper Nissen. So the drivers coming towards the conclusion of the formation lap as the red lights are ignited on the starting gantry. 11 minutes on the timer, plus an additional lap set to count down the minute the lights go out. We'll be down to Timo Jungling and Hamza Al-Fayez to control the pace on the rolling start. So now the drivers start making their way out to the 12th and final corner, into the tram lines. Revs rise. Are we ready? Are we steady? It's a full start. Another formation lap is now taking place. So race director not happy with that one. I can sense there's a little bit of nervousness from the drivers and anticipation of the start, but also we have to say a big thank you to the teams and the families for always supporting their drivers through whatever trials and tribulations they have within their motorsport career. A big thank you to you for making this weekend what it is. But the drivers now will reset, refocus, and recalibrate what they've got to do. They've got to refocus their minds and make sure that they are on point. We want to get them going second time of asking, and this will set the tone for the remainder of today's activities out on track. The 36 drivers comprising of 18 rows of those that have made it through to this stage. Now the real hard work begins. It's the second time of asking as the false start light has been reset and rescinded. Into the tram lines we go. Revs rise. Are we ready? Are we steady? The Junior Rotax pre-final starts now. Good start by the 2 on the front row, and a bit of a mistake. And Hamza Al-Fayez is straight on off of turn number 2. And he's going to have to stop and wait. It's a real shame. I mean, Jungling got compromised in all of that, but who is leading the way? They're going to come through turn number 6 very shortly. That is Mateo Radenkovic leading the train of karts as they make their way through turn 6 on the opening lap. So it is all bunching up as Hamza Al-Fayez did rejoin. He's currently sitting in 5th position, but had to wait until the field joined him, so it was unfortunate. He went for the high, wide and handsome around the outside at turn 2. It didn't pay off for the Jordanian. He's got Timo Jungling behind him along with the 244 from Argenti Motorsport, and that is Kenzo Craigie. But at the moment, Bolowet is battling away for 2nd position. That is with Armand Hamilton. Krit Knorden rounds out the top 4. Timo Jungling rounds out the top 5. Kenzo Craigie now up into 6 with Hamza Al-Fayez, Tino Sidler, Thomas Behrman, Archie Clark, and a great start from Christopher El Faghali, but there is a bit of chaos on the outside of turn number 3. Some drivers having to rejoin the circuit. So it looked to be a 3-kart incident. And Radenkovic already has a lead of, get this, 1 3/4 seconds after the opening lap. So drivers making their way through into turn number 12. As Radenkovic completes lap number 2, what's the gap between him and Bolowet? Was 1 3/4 seconds, now 1.6. Krit Knorden in 4th, sets the fastest lap of the race. Timo Jungling in 5th, ahead of Kenzo Craigie from Argenti Motorsport. Hamza Al-Fayez, Thomas Behrman now gets past Tino Sidler for 8th. Christopher El Faghali now hits the top 10, having started 18th. It's Dave Stevens, Archie Clark, Cameron Nelson, Oscar Guccio, and Olivier Yonkers running at the top 15. There was a little bit of activity in the pit lane. I've just seen, Casper Schormans has dropped all the way down to the back end of the grid. It was, Alberto Chico Fracassi might more than likely be in the pit lane. He didn't come through sector number 3, so the Italian will have to start from the back of the grid for the final later on. Eight minutes plus an additional lap still remains. Mateo Radenkovic, how big is his lead now? 1.6 seconds as Armand Hamilton nearly goes side by side and goes up the inside of Bolowet through into turn 2. Krit Knorden also looking to try and get through. Casper Nissen has just set the fastest lap of this race. Where is Casper Nissen? He's all the way up into 19th. Well, and that was from the back of the grid. So he's nearly halfway up the field already, because there have been dramas for quite a few drivers, including Sebastian Koch, including Thomas Ingram Hill. Boris Maximov down in 29th position. Mika van der Parvet all the way down in 28th place. So with 7 minutes and 12 seconds still to go on the clock, plus an additional lap, anything can potentially happen in this pre-final. Mika van der Parvet started in 8th place, and we have got our first official retirement. Alberto Chico Fracassi, who started on the inside of row 7, out and will start from 36th and stone dead last in the pre-final. Just looking to see where Casper Nissen actually started. Casper Nissen started 36. There's the 247 off the circuit. That's Archie Clark battling away with the likes of Dave Stevens, Cameron Nelson, Olivier Yonkers and Oscar Guccio. There's Krit Knorden looking to try and get through on Bolowet for 3rd place. But they have got Kenzo Craigie closing in. And Craigie went nearly a second quicker. As we've got another drama up at the exit of turn 8 into turn 9. There is Thomas Behrman ahead of Dave Stevens. Good move there from Archie Clark up the inside of Tino Sidler. And there is also Cameron Nelson, not too far adrift, just behind the Swiss racer from JJ Racing. Dave Stevens going toe-to-toe with Thomas Behrman through the exit of turn number 2. The lead now is 2.1 seconds as Matej Radenkovic still leads the way. No surprise that Kasper Schürmann just pumps in the fastest lap of the race, as behind Thomas Behrmann and Tay Stevens is Olivier Jonkers, who's on the verge of getting into the top 10, as Kenzo Craigie has now reeled in. Krit Knorren was over half a second quicker, and the young Brit is going to go up the inside. That's a nice move through turn number 10 for Kenzo Craigie, up to P4. Now he's going to start chasing those in front, as he's got both Boluet and Armand Hamilton, who are in third and second respectively. 5 minutes to go. Top 6 covered by 3.159 seconds, courtesy of Timo Jungling from the United Kingdom, who started on pole position. Christopher El Fagali started 18th, now up into 8th place, a gain of 10 positions. We also had the fact it was Max Cuthbert and Ollie Wise that dropped to the back of the grid. That was the incident coming out of turn number 8 just a moment ago. But Krit Knorren trying to get back past Kenzo Craigie, but that has allowed Timo Jungling to close on in. The youngster based out of London, family originally from Germany. One of 2 brothers that did compete in the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships as Honda Cadets. And Timo gets through on Krit Knorren. That's for P5. Now Craigie up the inside. That was a lovely little lunge there from Kenzo Craigie up the inside of Boluet to take P3 away from the youngster from Belgium. But Armand Hamilton has started pulling away. And what's more, Armand Hamilton is trying to reel in Matej Radenkovic with 3 3/4 minutes to go. Christopher El Fagali now holds the fastest lap of the race, 57.155. He's now up to 7th ahead of Jordan's Hamza Al-Fayez. Tay Stevens, Thomas Behrmann, Olivier Jonkers, Archie Clark, Tino Sidler, Cameron Nelson and Joshua Graham round out the top 15. So Joshua Graham started 30th. He's now in the top 15 and pushing to go further up the field. Radenkovic is going to come across the line to complete lap number 8. And the lead between him and Armand Hamilton has gone down again. Over a 10th and a half, as there is the move from Boluet up the inside of Timo Jungling. Krit Knorren trying to get through. There is Christopher El Fagali. The young Lebanese driver has made good his intent by moving up the field. He's moved up 11 positions. Now it's going to be 12. He gets up the inside through turn 6 on the Netherlands' Krit Knorren. And that's for 6th position. But Armand Hamilton has got some severe pace right now, and I think Matej Radenkovic might have a reason just to try and keep looking over his shoulder at the odd occasional opportunity. As there was a little bit of debris I just saw hit one of the drivers on the helmet. Might have been a bit of rubber pickup there. Kasper Schürmann has now recovered up to 26th. The last runner at the moment is the UAE's Zain El Homossani. It's not been an easy one from the youngster, as there is a move there. That's the 285. And that is Knud Nielsen past Archie Clark. Knud Nielsen, folks, started 32nd on the grid, as Tino Sidler goes up the inside of Olivier Jonkers. They have another touch coming out of turn number 6. And Knud Nielsen, not too far away from them either. So the 285 is definitely making some strides forward. A minute and a half still to go. Gap between first and second was 1.2 seconds last time around. I would hazard a guess that might be less than a second as we go into the last minute and 20 plus an additional lap. Armand Hamilton is pushing. 0.7. That is a monster lap there from Armand Hamilton as Timo Jungling sends it up the inside of Boluet through into turn number 2. Christopher El Fagali gets denied, but Krit Knorren up the inside of the Lebanese driver drops the 2-2-1 down a position, back down to 7th. The pace being shown by the likes of Armand Hamilton and Kenzo Craigie has been mighty in these last few laps. Tay Stevens, however, In 9th position is the fastest driver out there into the 56.6s as Boluet and Krik Knorren go into battle. That allows Al Fagali to get into the mix on this one. He's on the inside of Boluet on the inside of turn 9. Has to back out of it going into turn 10. Armand Hamilton will again reduce that gap. That's going to be less than half a second. Is Al Fagali up the inside of Louet? So goes Al Fayez and gets the pair of them. 0.448. 15 seconds to go, 2 laps remaining. And the fights are starting to really intensify. El Fagali gets through on Hamza Al Fayez. Boluet round the outside of the Jordanian through turn 3, has to hold back through turn 4. Tay Stevens gets through, and there is Thomas Behrman. So the gap between Mateo Radenkovic and Armand Hamilton was just under 4.5 tenths of a second. As there is a move, Tay Stevens goes into the side of Hamza Al Fayez, and that allows Boluet to get through. Thomas Behrman could also get through at this point of the circuit. They nearly rubbed wheels. It was side by side between Behrman and Azul. Gets a little bit of a hip check from Hamza Al Fayez inadvertently, and he runs over the back. And that is Behrman over the back of Al Fayez through the final corner as we head on to the final lap. And that engine there's steam from the engine on Al Fayez. And that is going to be terminal for the youngster from Jordan. A real shame there. But in the meantime, I'm keeping my eyes on what's happening up and down the order. It is difficult to keep an eye on everything, but I'm keeping an eye on the leaders as well as the battle for a little bit further back between Jungling, Knorren and El Fagali. That is for 4th, but there are the leaders. Armand Hamilton got close to within half a second as we've just got a handful of corners to go. Mateo Radenkovic leads the top 3 coming through to Cafe Corner, turn 10 for the final time, turn 11, now turn 12. Everyone had the best of intentions, but that driver which profited the most, it was Mateo Radenkovic, who wins the pre-final by 4 tenths of a second ahead of Armand Hamilton. Kenzo Craigie doing an absolutely stellar job, the youngster from Argenti Motorsport. He started, now where did Kenzo Craigie start? I'm just looking on the grid here. 17th to 3rd, brilliant performance, but there is your pre-final winner, Mateo Radenkovic, finishing ahead of Armand Hamilton and Kenzo Craigie. Timo Jungling and Christopher El Fagali take 4th and 5th respectively. Krik Knorren, Boluet, Tay Stevens, Tino Sidler and Knud Nielsen round out the top 10. Archie Clark, Mika van der Pavet, Joshua Graham, Cameron Nelson and Olivier Yonkers round out the top 15. Ryan Bourguignon, Thomas Behrman, Thomas Spearing, Nico Manila, Casper Schormans, Hamza Al Fayez, who had a lot of steam, probably from the coolant pipe on the engine after the incident just a few moments ago with Thomas Behrman. Noah Janssen, Thomas Ingram Hill, Alice Michalskis and Max Cuthbert ran at the top 25. Kasper Nissen, Boris Maximov, and there has been a change. Casper Schormans has been bumped down to 35th and last of the classified finishers after a 5-second time penalty for pushing and another 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. So before him, from 28th onwards, well, you had the likes of Boris Maximov, 26, Oscar Gudshaw, Ollie Wise, Tom Streller, Sebastian Kosh, Nemanja Jovanovic, August Reber, Zain El Homosani, and Luke Corner with Casper Schormans rounding out the grid, and Alberto Kiko Fracassi out on lap 1. All drivers being instructed by the race director of exactly what he wants to see in the race, not just from the race start, as there were handshakes between the drivers, wishing each other good luck ahead of what would be a very intense and frantic Junior Rotax pre-final. First of all, there was the false start, requiring the drivers to go round for another 1,360 metres to get themselves set, ready. As the lights went out and we got underway, Timo Jungling would start to lead the way, but Hamza Al Fayez from Jordan went around the outside and then went straight on, shortcutting the circuit inadvertently, and then would have to wait. But he controlled the kart nicely, slowed and waited as everything else transpired behind. Boluet and Armand Hamilton would be into battle very, very early in the race, along with Krik Knoren from the Netherlands in the 262, whilst everyone were chasing them down. Alberto Kiko Fracassi will start from the back of the grid after the Italian had to promptly retire after lap number 1. Armand Hamilton steamrolled his way past Boluet in the chase, or to chase after Matej Radenkovic from Belgium, who took the lead after all the dramas that happened through the opening couple of laps. Then also there were moments like this where the likes of Tino Sidler would find himself battling away with Dave Stevens and Archie Clark. Kenzo Craigie was definitely on the move, having started in 17th position and made his way past Boluet to try and chase down Armand Hamilton and Matej Radenkovic. The pace for the Argentine motorsport driver very evident. Even the 214 of Sebastian Koch was trying to make good his intentions, battling away with several of the drivers, including one of the JJ Racing crew, which was Nemanja Jovanovic. Timo Jungling, who started on pole position, would find himself battling away with Boluet, and Christopher El Fagali managed to make his way from 18th on the grid to battle for a position in the top 5, at one point nearly going around the outside of Krik Knoren. More side-by-side action through turn number 9 as El Fagali and Louet were side-by-side out of the corner. El Fagali would then overtake Boluet going into turn number 12 as Hamza Al Fayez also managed to get past not just Louet, but El Fagali in the process, with Dave Stevens latching on behind in the train. Then this moment here was Dave Stevens going to the side of Hamza Al Fayez through the exit of turn number 9 with Boluet, and now the emerging Thomas Behrman coming into the fray. Behrman would also go side by side with Dave Stevens through turn number 10, and then an inadvertent hip check led to this moment where Thomas Behrman ran over the right rear of Hamza Al Fayez, whose engine's coolant pipe, you can see the fluid there and the pipe adrift. Thomas Behrman would inadvertently rearrange the foam barriers coming out of the dummy grid, whilst Hamza Al Fayez's engine was not only losing coolant, but also billowing steam from the pipe. But Matej Radenkovic weathered the storm and made sure that he crossed the line first ahead of Armand Hamilton, with Kenzo Craigie rounding out the top 3, with Dan Holland Racing's Timo Jungling and Christopher El Fagali completing the top 5.